The deceased husband slowly sat up on the hospital bed. However, he did not remove the white sheet draped over his body and began walking slowly through the hospital. Strangely, no one could see him. Suddenly, a glowing door appeared before him. It was the passageway leaving this world. But Carl didn't want to leave, not yet. He couldn't bear to abandon his beloved wife, Annie. Crossing through a vast expanse of grassy fields, Carl finally returned to the small house the two of them had shared. Seeing Annie safe and sound, Carl finally let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. He had been terrified that Annie might do something reckless after his sudden death. Annie, weary and hollow-eyed, stared at the once happy little home that had belonged to them both. She had been such a lively person before, so full of energy, but now, she sat silently by the window for hours, saying nothing. She washed the coffee mugs the two of them had used that morning. Even something as simple as throwing out the trash required her to pause for a moment, as though every inch of this place held precious memories of her and Carl. Then Annie began eating dinner that had been prepared for two. The sweetness of the apple pie seemed to momentarily dull her pain. Though she could barely swallow anymore, she forced herself to keep stuffing the food into her mouth, naively thinking that maybe, if she finished it all, her beloved husband might somehow come back to her. Carl watched all of this unfold, but Annie couldn't sense his presence at all. All he could do now was sit silently by her side, accompanying her in solitude. Watching her, his heart was filled with nothing but guilt and regret. If only he hadn't had that accident yesterday, he could have been with Annie, enjoying the refreshing sound of the rain together. Time passed, it was hard to say how much. Perhaps sensing Carl's silent prayers, Annie tried to let go of the past. Life had to move on. She knew she had to force herself to be strong. Annie began going out more and more often. One day, she didn't come home at all, and Carl felt a deep unease settle over him as he sat on the bed, waiting and hoping. Then, to his surprise, he noticed something, a figure standing across from him. That is another ghost just like him.